Let's face it, folks. Dealing with rodents is nobody's idea of a good time. They invade our homes, our businesses, and even our gardens, leaving a trail of droppings and destruction in their wake. It's a nightmare scenario for anyone who values cleanliness and order. We lay down traps, we spray repellents, we even resort to the nuclear option poison. We do everything in our power to reclaim our spaces, but are we really winning this war, or are we just fighting a losing battle? You see those little bait stations promising a quick and easy demise for any unsuspecting critter? They seem like the perfect solution, right? Just set it and forget it. No more worries, no more rodents. But here's the dirty truth. Rodent poisons often fail. They don't always work as advertised. That's right, those pesky critters might be outsmarting us, and our reliance on poison could be making the problem even worse. We've all been there, feeling defeated and frustrated. You find droppings, maybe hear some scurrying in the walls, and think, time for the poison. It's a common reaction. But before you wage chemical warfare, let's dig into the trenches of this rodent battle and uncover the shocking truth about poison. There might be more effective, less harmful ways to tackle this issue. Rodent poisons, or rodenticides, are designed to be silent assassins. They usually come in tasty-looking pellets, blocks, or pastes, laced with chemicals that wreak havoc on a rodent system. The most common culprits are anticoagulants, which prevent blood clotting. The idea is simple. The rodent eats the bait, the poison kicks in, and a few days later the critter bleeds to death internally. Sounds effective, right? In a perfect world, maybe. But the rodent world, my friends, is far from perfect. And these poisons? Well, they're not as foolproof as we'd like to think. These poisons are designed to work slowly, so the rodent doesn't associate the bait with illness. That's the theory anyway. But in reality, rodents are smart. They're survivors, and they're catching on to our tricks. Now, the dirty truth is that poisons often fail to do their job. Despite our best efforts, these tiny invaders continue to thrive. Studies have shown that a significant percentage of rodents survive after eating poison bait. This isn't just a minor issue, it's a widespread problem. They might get sick, sure, but they often recover and live to tell the tale. These resilient creatures bounce back, sometimes stronger than before. And here's the kicker. Those survivors? They're not just lucky. They're adapting in ways we never anticipated. They could be developing resistance to the poison. This resistance isn't just a fluke, it's a sign of evolution in action. Think about it. We've been using the same types of poisons for decades. Over time, these rodents have had ample opportunity to adapt. That's a long time for rodents to adapt and evolve. Evolution doesn't happen overnight, but given enough time, it can lead to significant changes. It's like a game of cat and mouse. But the mouse is starting to learn the cat's moves. They're getting smarter, more elusive. And the more we rely on these chemical weapons, the less effective they become. It's a vicious cycle that we're struggling to break. We're seeing this resistance play out in the real world. Exterminators are facing unprecedented challenges. Exterminators are reporting that they need higher doses of poison to get the same results. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a growing concern. Some are even turning to more potent and frankly scarier chemicals. These substances pose risks not just to rodents but to humans and pets as well. But is that really the solution? We need to rethink our approach and consider more sustainable long-term strategies. Remember those survivor rats we talked about? The ones who shrugged off the poison and went back for seconds? Well, they're not just tough. They're the product of natural selection at its finest. The rodents who were most susceptible to the poison died off, leaving behind the ones with a natural tolerance. And guess what? Those survivors pass on their resistance genes to their offspring. It's like a twisted game of genetic roulette, and we're stacking the deck in favor of the rats. The more we use poison, the more we're breeding a generation of super rats immune to our chemical attacks. It's evolution in action, folks. And it's happening right under our noses. We're essentially creating our own worst enemy. The very creatures we're trying to eliminate are becoming immune to our weapons. Talk about a losing battle. Here's another dirty little secret about poison. It doesn't just affect rodents. These chemicals can have devastating consequences for other animals and the environment as a whole. Remember those anticoagulants we talked about? The ones that prevent blood clotting? Well, they don't discriminate. Birds of prey like owls and hawks often feed on rodents. When they eat a poisoned rat, they ingest the poison too. This secondary poisoning can lead to internal bleeding, organ damage, and even death. And it's not just birds. Pets, livestock, and even humans can be affected by accidental exposure to rodent poison. The poison doesn't just disappear after it's been eaten either. It can leach into the soil and water, contaminating our ecosystems and potentially harming a wide range of plants and animals. We're talking about a ripple effect that extends far beyond our backyards. I've seen my fair share of dirty jobs, and let me tell you, dealing with rodents is up there with the worst of them. It's not just the sight of them that gets to you, but the sheer persistence and resilience they show. I remember one time I was working at this old warehouse and the place was overrun with rats. It was like a scene straight out of a nightmare. They were everywhere, scurrying across the floor, nesting in the walls, you name it. It felt like they had taken over the entire building. The owners had tried everything to get rid of them, traps, poisons, even those ultrasonic devices that are supposed to scare them away. Nothing worked. It was as if the rats had become immune to all these methods. The rats were like something out of a horror movie. They were fearless. They would stare you down as if daring you to make a move. Another time, I was helping a friend clean out his attic, and we stumbled upon a nest of mice. It was a shocking discovery. They had chewed through insulation, gnawed on electrical wires, and left droppings everywhere. It was a mess. And the smell? It was overpowering, a mix of decay and filth. Let's just say it was unforgettable. The stench lingered long after the rodents were gone. These experiences taught me one thing: dealing with rodents is a tough job. It's not just about setting traps and hoping for the best, but relying solely on poison, that's a losing battle. That's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You need a comprehensive strategy. We need to be smarter, folks. We need to understand their behavior and outsmart them. We need to find better solutions. It's about time we outwit these pesky invaders once and for all. So if poison isn't the answer, what is? Well, the good news is that there are effective, humane, and environmentally friendly ways to combat rodent infestations. It's time to ditch the outdated methods and embrace a more holistic approach. First and foremost, we need to think like our adversaries. Rodents are resourceful creatures driven by basic needs: food, water, and shelter. Our goal is to make our homes and businesses less hospitable to them. This means sealing up cracks and holes, storing food properly, and eliminating sources of moisture. Think of it like this: we're playing a game of chess, not checkers. We need to anticipate their moves and cut off their supply lines. It's about outsmarting them, not just trying to eradicate them with brute force. Now, I'm not saying we should completely abandon lethal methods. Sometimes traps are necessary, especially when dealing with large infestations, but we need to be smart about it. Snap traps, when used correctly, can be an effective and humane way to control rodent populations. The key is placement. Rodents are creatures of habit. They follow established pathways along walls and baseboards. Place traps strategically along these routes and you'll increase your chances of success. And remember, baiting traps with something irresistible like peanut butter or chocolate can be the difference between a catch and a miss. Traps might seem like an old-school solution, but they're still a valuable tool in our rodent-fighting arsenal, and they don't come with the same risks to other animals and the environment as poison. One of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with rodents is underestimating their intelligence. These critters are incredibly adaptable and resourceful. They have a keen sense of smell, excellent hearing, and can squeeze through spaces you wouldn't think possible. To effectively combat rodents, we need to understand their behavior. For example, did you know that rats are neophobic? That means they're afraid of new things. So, if you place a trap or bait station in their environment, it might take them a while to approach it. Patience is key. It's a battle of attrition, not a quick fix. By learning their habits, weaknesses, and preferences, we can tailor our approach and increase our chances of success. Now, I'm all for DIY pest control, but there are times when it's best to call in the professionals. If you're dealing with a large infestation, or if your efforts haven't been successful, it might be time to bring in an experienced exterminator. Look for a company that prioritizes integrated pest management, IPM. This approach focuses on long-term prevention and control, using a combination of methods including sanitation, exclusion, and targeted treatments. A good exterminator will work with you to identify the source of the infestation, develop a customized plan, and provide ongoing monitoring to prevent future problems. Think of them as your partners in the fight against rodents. The truth is, folks, we've become too reliant on poison. It's the easy way out, but it's not the right way. It's time to move beyond this outdated and dangerous approach and embrace more sustainable and effective solutions. Imagine a world where we coexist with wildlife without resorting to chemical warfare. A world where our children and pets can play outside without the risk of poison exposure. A world where our ecosystems are free from the harmful effects of rodenticides. It's a vision worth striving for. By understanding the limitations of poison, embracing alternative methods, and working together, we can create a safer and healthier future for everyone, rodents included.